All right, look, I need you to do something for me. I need you to close your eyes. All right, let's start off with that. You're outside, pick any summer between 1990 and 1999. When you were the right age, you know the one. It was your summer, the one that lives in your chest every single time someone mentions what summer was like in the 90s. Now, tell me, in your head, what do you smell? What's going through your body right now? Because I'll tell you what I smell. In my head, I smell barbecue. I smell empanadas. I smell my uncle opening up some Coors Light. Titi making me some pastrami sandwiches, me and my cousin. Later on, sunscreen, because, you had to use sunscreen when you were out at the pool. And not just like any sunscreen. It was always like that copper tone. Is that what it's called? The white cream that takes forever to rub on type of sunscreen mixed with chlorine if you were in the pool. Mix with charcoal if, someone in the family or friend's family member was going and doing stuff on the grill, right? Mixed with a hot-ass pavement and whatever was coming out of the bodega on the corner. That's what I remember. That combination, that is for me, a very specific combination. That is the smell, for me, of a 90s summer. Just the food, the feels, all of it. And your nose, well, it just went there. I mean, at least mine did, even sitting here talking to you. That's where we're going today, okay? That's what this episode is all about. Welcome back to In Case I Missed It. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to In Case I Missed It. I am your host, Alex. Thank you for coming back here again and listening. It's Saturday morning if you're listening on Saturday morning. If not, well, welcome to the show on whatever day you're happening to be listening on. If you are listening right now on a Saturday morning, make sure you grab your cereal. Okay, you know how to do this. Quick thing, last week we did our first recap. We talked about the year 1990. We're going to be doing that every fourth episode, I should say. We're going to stop and kind of talk about the year that was. So we started off, obviously, with the very first year, 1990. In the next three episodes, we'll talk about some stuff here. I'll let you guys know what the next episode is going to be about. And then we'll move into the year 1991. And every four episodes, as I mentioned before, we'll get into a new year, 92, 93, 94, and so on and so on. But today is different. Today, we're not talking about history. We're not talking about feelings. Today, I want to talk to you about the 90s summer because it is summertime, or at least getting close to it. I mean, here in North Carolina, we're already in the hundreds. It's crazy hot out, Moving down here from New Jersey, the heat up there is crazy as well, just because it's like enclosed, right? The heat just stays in between all the buildings. So wherever you go, you're not escaping it. But here, the heat's out in the open and you're burning up everywhere you go. But let's get back into it. All right. We're going to talk about from the last day of school to the first day back. We'll talk about the super soakers, the quarter juices. If you're like me who lived in inner city, the basketball courts, the bike rides your parents still didn't know about, right? They still don't know about, actually. We'll talk about those delicious sandwiches that, were just so perfectly made right after you got out of the pool or you finished playing the game outside, freaking getting yourself all worked up. Oh, those were so good. So good. My goal today is very simple. I want to unlock something inside of you. The memories that have been pretty much been sitting in storage if you haven't really touched back on your past. Unlock that. The memories that just make the 90s feel that special. Something that maybe just triggered you. I don't know, 93, 94, 95. You figure it out. Okay? But I want you to go back. So let's go and let's do this. All right. We're going to go right into the full 90s summer. All right. Let's talk about the last day of school, the final bell, right? It didn't just sound like a final bell. It sounded like a starter pistol. And we used bells back then, not speakers with a ding sound, right? No, I had actual bells. Okay. Ring. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. 200 kids or more going from completely still to absolute chaos in seconds. You grabbed everything, if you were in high school, out of your locker without even looking, whatever was left, because you already know you had locker cleanup that week. So you had to get everything out. So if you happen to have left something in there, you go back and grab it. All right. You weren't organizing. You were just evacuating the building, and you hit that June sun as a person who no longer had homework, who no longer had to get up early. It's just wonderful. There is no, and I'm telling you right now, there is absolutely no adult experience that can replicate that feeling. I have looked. I have tried. Okay. We're talking about, I've done a lot of things. Okay. I'm writing a film. It got picked up. I became friends with all of my Power Ranger heroes. Okay. But there's a certain feeling that you try to recapture especially from being a kid, right? Especially like during the summer, and none of it hits like that last day where you walked out of school. You're 10 years old and the whole summer is just sitting right there in front of you. And you know what was playing everywhere that summer? Because I do remember this. I remember this song. I can still hear it in my head. It's being played today. All right. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. For some reason, the summertime theme song, that summertime song just plays. Summertime. You know what I'm talking about. I just probably ruined it for you. Just trying to sing it, but that one. If that song just started playing in your brain, by the way, because of me, that's completely normal and completely by design. That song was engineered to live in the part of your memory that belongs to summer. It was if you didn't know it at the time who sung it, you were just kind of going by the vibes of it all. Now you know. Such a great song. But let's talk about where I grew up real quick. All right, let me tell you a little bit about me, my background. I grew up in Union City, New Jersey. All right. Right, I mean, right across the street from Manhattan. Literally, I can see the Manhattan skyline clear as day from my bedroom window. Now you can't see anything because they've knocked down all the old homes and they're building high rises everywhere and condos. All right, and in the summer, New York City was alive. Okay, so was Union City where I lived. Okay, it was bananas. All right, you had fire escapes with people planting plants all over them and hanging out in the fire escapes, talking to their vecino, to their neighbors. All right, the bodega in the corner was always full. People in the streets early in the morning. Stores had their AC blasting, so every time you walked by a store, you felt that cold ass air hit you, and you're like, stop there for just a second just to catch your breath, especially if you just came back from playing hoops with the boys or whatever you were doing, getting in trouble somewhere, I'm sure. But now that I bring that up, let's talk about basketball courts, man, specifically like in the inner city, because basketball courts, they were everything. Me and the guys and my friends, we always found different courts to go play basketball. And didn't matter who we were playing against. If we were getting our ass beat, we were going to get our ass beat playing. We just wanted to go out there and play. Because as I mentioned, the court wasn't just a place that you would just go to just to hang out. It was a community center, right? It was like its own arena, except that there was no referees, no scoreboard, just kids with extremely strong opinions, and trust me, very vocal, specifically when it came to the game. People were calling fouls on their own accord, you know? And if you didn't like it and you're going to argue back, well, you know, sometimes things get heated. But somehow you always figured it out and you kept playing because the game mattered more than the freaking argument. And the argument never traveled between days either. So like if you just saw the same kids again the rest of the week, you left that on the court. Even if it was like if you were playing against your friends, you just left it there and you walked home. You walked home hot, sweaty, because if you lived in the inner city, if you lived in New York City, if you live anywhere around that area, you know, you sweated your balls off. Okay? Badly. Excuse my language, but let's just call it what it is. You know? And you were dehydrated as hell. It's not like we had money in our pockets either. Like vast amounts of money. Nothing was expensive, but it's not like we were running around with like $15, $30, $60 in our pockets, whatever. Just a random ass numbers, right? But you just had enough. Enough that if you needed to go to the bodega in the corner, you would go inside and you would not go for the water. All right. You wouldn't. You would go inside to get those quarter juices. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. And you also wouldn't, if you were close enough to home, you wouldn't go home. You always had those big ass bottles that had that foam around it on the outside to keep the bottle cool. Right, you know, you filled it up with water and froze it the night before so you could take it out with you the next day because you didn't want to come back home because you knew that if you were outside and you came back inside for anything, that meant going into the parental zone. Adults with additional thoughts about everything that was happening and what they can probably come up with to fill your afternoon with things to do like chores or anything else that needed to be done, right? Because as long as you're in here is how the sentence would begin. They would fill it in with, can you take this out? Can you do this? Can you do that? So no, we stayed outside. We either found someone who had money. We either put our money together. We just never went back home. We played through the heat, through the dry mouth, through the point where the court was shimmering and you started seeing spots. Please tell me you guys saw those spots. Okay? Not one spot. I'm talking about spots. Plural. Your body politely informing you that you had taken the hydration situation past medical guidelines. And you know what you did when you saw spots? You checked whose turn it was to guard and you got back on defense. That's what happens. That's all it was. You never complained. You could have passed out right on the corner. You probably wouldn't even know it. Right? But if your other boys or whomever you were hanging out with, girls, were feeling that dehydration, were feeling those, seeing those spots themselves, you know somebody was going to say, yo, I'm going to go run to the store. I'm running to the store real quick. I'm going to the bodega. Right? And you feel like as the clouds parted because the bodega had those quarter juices that you know we all friggin' bought. You know what I'm talking about. That little plastic barrel, palm sized, had the little foil on top. Fruit punch, grape, that orange flavor that had never been an actual orange but tasted like what an orange wished it could be. And you would bite the top of the foil off. Okay, and don't tell me you peeled it. Don't tell me. Nobody peeled it. If they tell you that, they're lying. All right? And the cold sweetness hit. You're completely dehydrated, sun-baked body. And then all of a sudden you take that little sip, man. And it was the greatest thing you ever had tasted in your life. Okay? Let me tell you right now, friends. As an adult, I've been to nice restaurants. Restaurants that had like descriptions on the menu. Nothing has ever hit like that quarter juice. All right? When you're seeing spots in July and August. All right? Context is flavor. Desperation is a seasoning. And it was so damn good. So good. And if the courts were crowded, you know, you had options. You either hit the baseball field, and I don't mean like you were invited, okay, to the baseball field. I mean, there was a spot, right? There was some baseball fields that, actually all the baseball fields were locked. because they either belong to a school or belong to the city. All right. But there was always a spot in a fence. It was like you wanted to find it and you would squeeze through it and play it all afternoon with whatever you had. If it was a regular baseball, a rubber ball, a tennis ball, whatever, you just went out and played. If the bat was breaking, it was already cracked, you continued playing with it. And if not, you used that little piece of stick that was left over. All right. I remember climbing fences, going underneath fences, just spending the whole day playing baseball out in the 200-degree sun with not an ounce of water around me. And we just played, man. We just played. There's also the bike rides. You guys remember that? Just getting on a bike and riding. Not a worry in the world. The long rides too. Okay? That's what I'm talking about here. The ones your parents still don't know about. And we're all taking that to our graves together. Because this is a safe space. Someone would say, hey, you want to ride with me? I'm going somewhere. You wouldn't ask questions. The correct answer was always yes. By the way, there was no GPS, no cell phones, nothing to track you. If you had a beeper, maybe. That's about it. Payphones everywhere. Literally everywhere. 2, 3, 4 payphones within a block. All right, but you were like towns over, maybe a county over, places you'd never been. And you always made it back before the streetlights turned on. Your mom asked where'd you been? And you would say, oh, yeah, I've just been around hanging out with the guys. And she accepted it because around was a complete answer in the 90s. Some secrets just belong with you and your friends. You made it home safe. That's all we cared about. Talk about the 4th of July as well. 4th of July is when we were kids, were just over the top, right? Especially like if you lived in an inner city like I did, okay? It was not just a holiday, man. It was an event, okay? Somebody's uncle or older sibling had fireworks. And I'm not talking about like right now, like what we have now with like little sparklers, like yay. You know, it's the 4th of July. I'm talking about fireworks, the kind that go up in the air, the kind that technically require permits and somehow materialized every year on every block in America. Like they just grew there and nobody asked questions. The cops were never really around. M80s that would make every alarm in the blocks and in the following blocks go off for hours. Those alarms in the 90s were annoying as hell too. You guys remember the sound of all those? They all had the same alarm. Oh my God. Did everyone have the same alarm in every car? I hope so. And when night came, when that 4th of July night came, everyone was outside. Everyone was on a rooftop, on their fire escapes. I remember you can see the Hudson River. Back then, they would do the 4th of July spectacular right down the Hudson River, and we would go down to Boulevard East, or we can see it from the rooftops in our house, man. It was beautiful. The sky lighting up. It felt different. For me, I would always go to my cousin's house. I lived on 37th Street in Union City. He lived on 51st in North Bergen, but it's just a straight ride, right? You would just walk the 20 odd blocks and you get to his house, and we would just hang out all day, barbecue, play basketball, play video games. Once it got too hot to be outside, we would just sit inside and play Madden for hours on end. It's such a great feeling, you know? And then like people, like, you know, when your neighbors were setting off fireworks, you would just go and just stand in the middle of the street. Who cares? Right? Because it was your street. That's where you lived at. You know? It felt like home. That's what it was. It was home. That feeling of knowing that you're safe around the people amongst you, you got to keep that one inside, right here in the chest. Because I don't think we feel that much, that safety today that much as we did back in the day. Things are crazy now. Crazy. And whatever you had, right? Whatever water you had, whether it was a pool, a kiddie pool, whatever, a sprinkler, maybe the fire hydrant somebody cracked open because summer in the city finds a way. You were in it. Okay? You were in it. Or maybe you had your super soaker and you would have super soaker battles. All right? We all know the super soaker was not a toy. It was a weapon system. You pumped that sucker up. You felt the pressure building. Bam, you just hit somebody right in the chest or in the face. That thing had power. Power. Okay? And then you would like reload. You just run to the spigot, to the faucet, and just reload that bad boy, and you just continued going. You just had fun. No one to bother you and tell you, no, don't do this, don't do that. You just go and do it. And it was just what you did. And then you would pick on your younger siblings because they're not using super soakers, they're using the little squirt guns. And you're literally like lasering them with the super soaker in the face. Oh man, maybe it was just me. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. And if you were in the pool, or if you were in a sprinkler, or if you were in a community pool, as we had pools too in the city, you know, you get a pass, you get to go to the pool. You come out with pruny fingers, chlorine all over your eyes, your hair's dripping. You wrap yourself up in a beach towel, right? Those old school beach towels that are like, they feel scratchy, right? With the cartoon characters on it. You've probably had it for years, and that's why it feels the way it does. And then your mom or your aunt or your uncle or someone brought out those delicious sandwiches, man. Summer sandwiches. And they're, you know, they weren't that special, right? It's not like they had something crazy on it. We're talking about white bread, turkey, bologna, ham, you know, whatever you can find. Roast beef. You cut it in half. You put it on that paper plate. You get some chips, some Doritos, some Cool Ranch Doritos. Maybe if you had Capri Sun, you grab a Capri Sun or a Kool-Aid. Those old school Kool-Aids that you pop the top off. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you had Capri Suns, most of the time you're always stabbing them the wrong way anyway, because everyone stabbed them wrong. Not one Capri Sun was ever stabbed correctly in the entire decade of the 90s. You fought that pouch. That was part of the experience. I don't care what anyone says. That sandwich, I'm gonna go back to that sandwich. I'm getting hungry now. Okay? It was made in 2 minutes, right? It was like one of the quickest thing ever. But it was the greatest thing you ever had eaten in your life. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm being dead ass accurate. The hunger, the sun, the water, they don't add to the flavor. Honestly, I think it created the flavor. You know? Without the whole day before it, it's just a sandwich. With all of it. It's just all comes together. It's a masterpiece. I would give anything to eat that sandwich, that Wonder Bread sandwich with mayo. One more time. And as we continue here, the night came, the evening came, the sky went that specific purple pink that only 90 summer evenings had. Please tell me that I'm not the only one right now who can feel it and see it. Because the sky was just perfect. 90 summer evenings were just different. If you lived out somewhere where there was fireflies, you saw the fireflies come out. And you've maybe caught one, cupped it in your hands, you looked at it, and you're like, oh man, this thing's for real, right? And back then, you didn't make a spectacle out of it. There was no way to photograph it, right? Like instantly, at least. There's no filters, no story. It was just you, a firefly, or if you're in the city, mosquitoes, and the understanding that some things are just for you. And I don't know about you. How many of you out there miss that? Just having things done for you, like specifically keeping core memories in your mind without having to always saying, I got to pull out the phone and take a picture and share with everyone. I've been guilty of it. But as of late, since I hit my 40s, I've been more and more close guarded, more to the chest about what I do, what I take pictures of, and what I talk about online. Because as much as this is a great tool right now to use to be able to speak to you and get the word out about the 90s, as much as I love the 90s and get this podcast out there, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to like the social media aspect of it, right, the things that are personal, I've just completely stopped posting stuff like that. It's just, here's what I'm doing. This is my projects. I'm writing a movie, right? I wrote a Christmas movie, got picked up. This is coming soon. Let's talk about that. The moments I'm keeping to myself and the people around me. And I feel like life is lived better that way sometimes. That's just my opinion. You can fight me on it. Actually, you can't because it's my opinion. Let's get back to the show, though. Let's talk about the evening. Those last 20 minutes, right? Those last 20 minutes of the night that you're trying to like grab a hold of as the light's going down, right? Before the streetlights turn on, right? You understand nobody ever wanted to be the first one to go inside. Nobody. You know? You just wanted to sit outside in the porch or in the back or in the sidewalk, whatever, talking about nothing and everything at the same time. It just felt good. And then you did go inside, right? Eventually you made your way inside the house and you went into your room. Because we 90s kids are different, right? We were room kids. Go to your room, go find something, unbore yourself. You're bored, get out of my face. Right? And you would turn on the AC. You know what I'm talking about? Everyone had where I lived at least, I didn't have central AC. I had an AC that was in my room on the window, or once upon a time, it was already built into the wall. But this specific one, I had a window AC. All right. And it was loud, it rattled, but it was a beautiful window unit, you know? And I would just lay on top of the sheets, just lay there. I had the set of baseball sheets. It was blue, Major League Baseball, had all the old logos on it. You guys had those? Beautiful. I want my bed to have those now. And you would lay on top of the sheets, as I said before, just spread out, doing whatever the hell you wanted to. You know, for me, living in where I was, and at the time, I would turn the TV on, the Yankees would come on. The Yankees' worst summer, right? Jeter arriving in 1996, Rookie of the Year, and a World Series champion his first full season. You had the 98 team winning 114 games. Paul O'Neill hitting the ball like it personally insulted him. Man, watching baseball with the AC humming and the day behind you, if the day you just had, that was the specific like contentment of a summer night done right. You know, occasionally you would catch a basketball game, right? You probably had the Knicks because I lived there. So it was either the Nets or the Knicks. So you had the Knicks playing on the summers. 1999 was a big year for the Knicks. They went to the finals against San Antonio. It was great, man. Or maybe you played Nintendo, right? Maybe you were playing video games at night, right? And you wouldn't play to like be crazy. Like there's like a different level of gaming at nighttime, right? You didn't play Nintendo at night to beat anything. You just turned it on to just have fun, right? Or you read comics from the stack that you were, you know, maybe putting together because you know you needed to put away your comics and put them in order. They just, some of them you forgot to read, and hey, you might as well pick up a lamp. Maybe your Game Boy. Pick up your Game Boy. Had to have your lamp on because the Game Boys were not backlit. So you had to sit there and have a lamp on so you could just play. It's just crazy. Or for some of us, late in the decade, maybe you went and hung out on the computer and turned it on. Played some mahjong or something. You know? Maybe you went online. Maybe you had America Online. That sound, the buddy list, the away messages, the world getting bigger than your block forever for the first time, because now you're like talking to people across the world, across the United States, wherever, you know. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that episode very soon. But here's the thing about the 90s summer. It didn't matter if you were on concrete like I was, right? In the inner city or in a backyard in the suburbs. The summers all worked the same for all of us because it was ours. Unscheduled. It was unmonitored. A stretch of time that belonged to children in a way that almost nothing does anymore. The boredom was a gift. The long, hot, unstructured afternoons was there where everything pretty much that was great would happen, right? You had your friendships with your friends, the inventions, the things you could come up with. It was the version of yourself that only shows up when nothing else fills the space, because boredom was a gift. Boredom was a gift. All right. And we didn't know it was the good old days. We really didn't. We were just in it, all the way in it. Before I get out of here, I want to talk about the Did You Know segment here, because I love bringing this to you, my Did You Know segment. We'll talk about the 5 things, all right? All right. Actually, today I'm going to make it 3. 3 quick ones today, because it's summer. 3 facts about the 90s that are going to hit different. We'll talk about the first one. We spoke a little bit about the Super Soaker. And I'll tell you what, the Super Soaker, it was invented by a NASA engineer. Not a toy company, a NASA engineer named Lonnie Johnson, working on a heat pump system, who accidentally fired a stream of water across his bathroom and thought, wait a second. He pitched it for years. Most toy companies all passed. Imagine being the person who looked at the Super Soaker and said, I don't see it. What an unfortunate career decision that person made. You know? Larami said yes. Let's talk about, okay? It launched in 1990. It became one of the best-selling toys in history. Lonnie Johnson had earned over $73 million in royalties. And here's the part that matters the most about all of this. He was a black inventor with over 100 patents whose story doesn't get told enough. Every time you went out there and played with that damn thing, you were holding a piece of NASA. That's crazy. Number 2, the barrel juice. That quarter juice. All right? That quarter juice tasted better because you were dehydrated. All right? And there's actual science behind that. See, because your taste buds, everything in there registers sweetness more intensely when your blood sugar is depleted from whatever you were doing. So every time you came off that court, or you were playing baseball, you were running around doing something, right? And you were seeing those spots I was talking about earlier, your body was psychologically primed to experience that quarter juice as the greatest thing on earth. That's not nostalgia. That's kind of just the chemistry of it all. That's the universe looking at a dehydrated kid and saying, here, this one's for you. And number 3, I mentioned it earlier, Summertime by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. The official anthem of every 90s summer comes from a duo that won the very first Grammy ever awarded to rap in 1989. And then they boycotted the ceremony because the rap award wasn't going to be televised. They boycotted their own Grammy. If the category wasn't good enough to put on TV, they weren't walking out through the door. Plain and simple. That's a statement. And 2 years later, they gave us a perfect record that still lives in the part of our brains reserved for all the perfect things that we remember as kids. Okay? You should go play it after this episode. I guarantee it's still exactly perfect the way we remember it. But friends, that's episode 5. And we went somewhere today, a real somewhere, right? The quarter juices, the fields we snuck into, the streets on the 4th of July, when the whole sky went up at once, right? Boof, just lighting up with fireworks. The AC, the Yankees, the Knicks, the Mets, whoever you were watching back then. The sandwiches on the paper plates with the Cool Ranch Doritos. We went back. And wherever your summer was, whatever your version looked like, I hope you found yourself in there, because the details were different for all of us, but the feeling was exactly the same. We were all there. We were all fully in it. And we didn't know it was the good old days, as I mentioned before. We were just living it. And if you have kids, get them outside this summer. Turn the phones off. Let them be bored. Let them eat a sandwich on a paper plate. Nothing has to be always organic. All right? Especially if they've been in the water all afternoon. Just go get some white bread. Poof, put some stuff together and give it to them with some Cool Ranch Doritos. Okay? Give them something close to what we had. All right? For real. Do it for me. Do it for the show. Also, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If this episode unlocked even one memory that you forgot you had, go leave it right now. 30 seconds. It's how new people find the show. And share this one with whoever was with you back in the day, hanging out with you on the courts, in the baseball field, in the pool, on your bike rides, playing video games, calling your house, whatever. Okay? If your mom still doesn't know about the things that you did outside on that bike, all right, don't tell him. Don't tell her. No explanations needed. All right? Now let's talk about next week. Let's talk about the upcoming episode, because we're going somewhere that every single person listening has a memory of a sound. Okay? A memory of a sound. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. Next week is the early internet. That's what we're going to be talking about. Dial-up. You guys remember dial-up? You guys remember AOL? Those AOL CDs that came everywhere, cereal boxes, everywhere. Okay, we're talking about chat rooms, Instant Messenger, ICQ, GeoCities, Napster, the way messages were meant to be sent, right? You had all you, and also on AIM. Let's talk about AIM. You had your away messages. You remember that? Okay, those were your first real status updates. The buddy list, that was the first real social network. ASL, the 3 letters that started a million conversations. The first time most of America went online and nobody understood what we were walking into. So for that, come back next Saturday morning. We'll be right here. My friends, I am Alex. And as always, in case I missed it, the 90s were better. See you on Saturday.